Hi everyone, welcome back to Polyglot Princesses. In this episode, I'm talking to Ophelia. She's a language YouTuber and pretty active in the Polyglot community, so I'm sure quite a lot of you know her. I'm really excited to talk to her. It's my first time talking to her outside of Twitter and Instagram and YouTube, so I hope you enjoy this episode. Hello!
It's lovely to meet you with words.
In person. It's super cool to meet you. Following your YouTube for quite a number of, I don't know if it's years or months, but most definitely lots of months. And I'm a big fan, so it's an honor to be able to talk to you today.
I mean, the Lindie, I think, it's so, I'm also this series in particular is such a wonderful one because, I know you know, so I don't need to say it for you, but just so often I feel like I get messages of so where are the women? And I'm like, okay, thanks. So, only men learn languages. So this series, among so much of the other work you do, is just so important. So thank you so much.
That's actually what I wanted to ask. My first question for you is, what do you think of the female representation in the polyglot community? Do you think it's a big issue? People do make a big issue out of it. Is it really that big of an issue? Do we really need recognition? Should we just be happy in our own abilities, or do we need to be out there? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. Also, I'd love to know your thoughts as well, as I feel like you've been part of the community for a lot longer than I have. I feel always like a baby who's sort of still just here. I think there's lots of problems with representation in the polyglot community. I think it's a shame that it's very dominated by the Anglophone world. I think that's a shame because on the one hand, even though it's good because the Anglophone world tends to be the world that learns languages, as in the native Anglophone world. I know you're not a native English speaker, but sort of, it's very, in South Africa, Afrikaans and English, I imagine it didn't follow that far behind Afrikaans, or maybe I'm wrong. Yeah. So I think there's a problem with that anyway, because there are so many communities that are inherently polyglot communities, but they don't get a look in. It's always about the sort of native English speaker who wants to acquire all the languages, rather than the majority of polyglots in the world who don't tend to be in the Western developed world. I know that term is out of date, so I'm sorry. I don't remember the proper term. I know the developed world is not the right term, but so I think that's one problem. It's also, and then leading on from that, it's also very white as well, and then it's also very the famous people who have all the books do tend to be men as well, and at the conferences there'll be a few women, but it's mostly men. I know there is the Women in Language conference, but I wish that was sort of
bigger,
supported a bit more by the other conferences, because I know between Langfest and there's just I don't know, those are my feelings, they're not very coherent.
No, it makes sense. I haven't actually been to any language conferences at all. I was actually invited to speak at Women in Language, and just mental health and just couldn't do it, but I would definitely love to do that one day. So, Anyway, I think we've actually jumped solidly into the conversation without me introducing you or having you introduce yourself.
Sorry, that's fine.
So, as I do with all of my polyglot princesses, would you please introduce yourself and tell us the languages that you speak and that you learn?
Oh, okay. So, hello, my name is Ophelia, and I'm from England, and my native language is English. So, all what I've said about the polyglot community being dominated by white native English speakers, I am aware. And I feel like I only speak English, even though I do sort of, I do also teach French. So I should also say I speak French. I just always feel like there's always so much more I don't know, but then I feel that about my own native language. And then I learn, Russian and Swedish and Arabic mainly. So those are my main languages of learning.
Okay, I don't know why I either forgot or didn't know you're learning Arabic. What are your experiences with that?
So, well, it's because I've had to put it on a massive back burner for a whole bunch of like school slash, well, I don't say, I know Americans say school for all education, but university has been very intense and there's personal stuff. So I haven't been able to dedicate as much time, but I took an Arabic class last semester and I adored it so much.
Amazing.
And I was taught by someone who was from Egypt, and I think the Egyptian dialect is wonderful, and that's the one I would love to learn. I just adore it. I love the notation. I found the notation, or not notation is the wrong word, the script rather, yes. I found it much friendlier than the Cyrillic alphabet. In Russian, it took me forever to get to grips with the Cyrillic alphabet. I feel like I'm always, even though it's like nearly 2 years, still feel like it feels very foreign. Meanwhile, Arabic, which works in a completely different way, like the opposite direction of reading, I just found it so like friendly. So that was my experience, and I want to continue with it more, definitely.
That's really interesting, because a lot of people say Arabic is one of the hardest languages because of the script and the way that one letter can be written in 3 different ways. But I was actually thinking about this in a meeting today. If you ever wonder what I think about in meetings, we were actually sitting in a meeting room called Marhaba, and it's at an international company, and they have offices in Arabic-speaking countries as well. Anyway, and I was like, thinking about how would I write Marhaba in Arabic, and I was just thinking how nice the Arabic script is, because I don't know if you've seen Arabic typography, but you can extend the words so much. Like marhaba, you can write like that, but you can also extend that line and have the whole word like become really long. It's like cursive. It's beautiful. Yeah. Yes.
And like the calligraphy in general is beautiful. It has like historic reasons for being so beautiful, because of what you were allowed to decorate mosques with, and so therefore the script is much more beautiful, in my opinion, than the Latin script, when you're allowed sort of images and other things. So I mean, it's fascinating. Yeah. So I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, I have such a soft spot for Arabic. It's actually embarrassing that I haven't put in more energy into this beautiful language.
You have so many languages, and I'm sure you'll get there. And so I think like the guilt that is experienced because it's like all of the languages feel like my babies, and I feel like I'm constantly like neglecting and cheating on them, and it just makes me feel permanently guilty. So
that makes 2 of us, absolutely. For the viewers who are watching, Ophelia made the guilty language learner tag, so you can check out her channel for that as well. So definitely, I think there are lots of feelings of guilt that go along with language learning. And recently people have been speaking up more about anxiety in languages learning as well, and having to feel like you have to perform. And I think people, if you're learning languages for a hobby, you need to remember that it should be something that you enjoy and that you love. So, Ophelia, how do you balance that? Do you ever feel inadequate? Do you ever feel stressed?
Yes, obviously, absolutely. I think because my job doesn't rely on me acquiring new languages.
Yes.
So when I feel like that, I'm like, okay, I'll just take a break then, and that doesn't have an impact. I don't need to learn a language to move countries or to get citizenship or anything like that. So I'm in like the lucky position where learning languages can be purely a hobby. So when I feel stressed and inadequate and like, what am I doing with my time? I can just take a break. And so that's what I do. What do you do if you ever feel like that?
Oh, I take a break. I don't like it. I think people really need to realize the importance of taking breaks. I mean, I'm not learning languages to perform or to impress anybody, and it should be something relaxing to me. And if my schedule or my health can't handle it, then by all means, taking a break is what you should be doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm sorry you've been going through such a hard time as well. I'm sending you lots of love from the other side of the world, vertically. So I said, I'm so sorry. It's life can be very difficult at times.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where when you watch, because your videos feel so personal, and you're such a personable person when I'm watching it. So it feels like I know you really well, even though this is our first like conversation with, and so it's one of those things where I'm always like, when I heard about you having a difficult time, I was like, oh, I just want to go over and give you a hug.
So sweet.
So I think, and I know I'm not alone in that experience when it comes to your videos in particular.
Oh,
so
thank you. And I must say the same for you. You are definitely one of the most authentic language YouTubers out there, and I love your vlogs. They're just like chats. It's like you're sitting with a
Thank you.
friend. So again, I'm gonna say to the viewers, if you haven't checked out Ophelia's channel, please do. She is so authentic and honest and lovely.
Oh,
Okay.
Sorry, but just on that very quick, I know we're working with battery problems, but because I often feel like a fraud. I recently spoke with Aurella, who makes French videos,
Yes.
about this, and so when people are like, "You're so authentic," I'm like, "But I feel like a fraud." But then they all think I'm authentic, so it heightens my feeling of being a fraud. It's like, when I'm like, "Why do you listen to me?" And so, even though it's lovely and it's like I am like that, it's one of those things where I'm like, I just feel like my fraudness is being. That's not the word. Oh gosh, I'm not. Pity about polyglots, and I can't even do the native. That's fine. Anyway, sorry. Your next question.
Yes, I'm on 8% battery. I have to apologize. I do this wonderful thing where I leave my charger at work, and yep, so, but I think we should schedule a part 2, and I'm sure the viewers would love to do that as well. But my next question for you, and you can answer in French if you want, is what is your most embarrassing moment in language learning?
Oh. Beaucoup de gens me demandent tout le temps cette question. Je sais pas pourquoi. Je crois que c'est peut-être parce que.
Mais c'est drôle.
Comment?
Mais c'est drôle ces questions.
Ouais, bien sûr. Mais comment dit-on? C'est gênant. The word embarrassing, I think. Je sais pas exactement, mais je pense que j'ai l'air d'être quelqu'un qui vivre dans une manière de gêner tout le temps. My French is awful at the moment. I'm not teaching French at the moment. I feel like I should put in a disclaimer. I'm not currently teaching French. But I feel like I'm one of those people who seems like they live a life of being embarrassed all the time. That's my theory. And so I feel like people ask me this when they're like, but what has gone wrong? Because I feel like I often speak before I think, and so I think that's a very good question. I don't know. I just think so much always happens that goes wrong. There's a difference. So 2 Russian things. Sorry, I've switched to English because when I'm thinking about Russian things particularly, and that it always happens in my English brain. So I learned Russian from my boyfriend. His family are Russian, and his brother is called Igor or Igor. No, that's the word I confuse it with. I confuse the brother's name with the word for game all the time. I think it's Igor and Igrit. I get confused all the time, and I say it wrong. And so I've been calling him Game for a long time, and he games a lot. So that's quite interesting. And then another one is that if you put the stress on the wrong part of the word to write, which is pisat, which I'm nervous to say it anyway, it changes from being the word to write into being a rather rude word, and I've made the mistake talking to my boyfriend's babushka, his grandma, before. So those are 2 Russian-related embarrassing mistakes. However, the Russians were very forgiving rather, so it hasn't scarred me.
Oh, that reminds me. I get that in Korean a lot, that some words, especially when you're typing and you type too fast, you might switch some characters. So 생일 means birthday, and 생리 is your period. So I've often told some guys happy period instead of happy birthday. So that happens.
I wish there was a culture of saying that, like have fun menstruating. That would be
It's
lovely.
not fun.
It's not fun. And it would be like, oh yeah, this could be fun. That would be lovely. What a note to wrap it up on.
We're doing great. We're on 5% battery here, and I definitely think if you're up for it, we should do a part 2.
Yeah, of course. Chatting to you is lovely.
Cool.
I send you all the love, and I wish we had more time.
Okay,
so,
well, I think we have time for
much.
one last question. The question I'll always ask is, what would be your main language learning tip? I find a lot of people just say, I have no idea where to start. I'm learning this new language. Where do I begin?
I think if you really work out why you want to learn a language, that will help you structure where you want to go for beginners. So, you know, if you're learning a language to pass an exam in school, that's very different from learning a language because you want to read a novel in it, or because you want to be able to talk to your friend's family in it, or whatever. So I think focusing on what your purpose is, that will help you sort of align the right vocabulary and the right sort of grammar, because you know, if you're doing it in school, then grammar will be in some ways more important than, you know, pronunciation. Oh, that's my phone going off. That's embarrassing. Sorry. So that would be my tip, is to think about like why you're doing it, so then you can like structure everything else around that.
Right, and define your goals and the path going from there.
Yeah, exactly. Because I also have that sort of like, well, where do I start?
Yeah.
But you need to tell me why you're doing this, and then I can try and help you. But
Very
like,
true.
Otherwise, you know, if I say like, pick up whatever, a novel in it for fun, that's just not going to be helpful.
Right, because that might not be the way another person wants to learn a language. Someone might not even care about books, whereas that might work for us.
Yeah.
So it is a personal thing. Yeah,
exactly. So,
cool.
Yeah. I hope that's an okay tip.
Absolutely.
I feel like that's more a life tip.
We're on 3%. Oh, I feel terrible. Okay. Je suis vraiment désolée, mais merci beaucoup pour t'avoir parlé avec moi. C'était vraiment amusant.
Merci pour m'inviter. Merci beaucoup.
Merci.
C'est très inspirante pour moi.
Oh, merci. Pour moi aussi, vraiment.
Merci. Ok.
Alors, c'est tout pour aujourd'hui. Je suis vraiment désolée, but thank you so much. Guys, I sincerely apologize to the viewers as well for this very short Polyglot Princess, but I think we'll be having a part 2 pretty soon.
Well, if you would love to, I am so up for it.
Absolutely.
So, absolutely. Well, I hope you have a lovely day, and good luck with everything.
Thank you for everything, Ophelia. It was lovely to talk to you.
You too.
Alrighty.
Merci, au revoir.
Merci, au revoir. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the interview. If you'd like to be featured on Polyglot Princesses, please send me a message or comment here, or Facebook or Instagram or whatever, contact me and we can set up a chat. Alright guys, see you in the next video. Bye bye!